welcome to another Best Junglers episode, this one for patch 11.19, the World Championship patch. And since the last time I saw you in one of these videos, we've seen a drastic shift in the jungle meta. Not sort of your core champions that are strong, but there's a lot of shuffling around this assassin jungle meta, you know, Talon, Qiyana, Zed. Nunu feels very much like an AP one-shot machine rather than a tank, and much more. So as always, if you do enjoy these videos as well as the other tutorials, please consider leaving a like and of course subscribing. We are closing in on 200,000. Don't forget the infographics for this tier list will be on the Patreon along with all the coaching VODs that I do. And if you want me to be live coaching over your shoulder, telling you what to look for, what matchups are great, what lanes to gank, I collaborated with Zarda.gg to bring you all a supremely high quality Volibear and jungling guide. Now yes, the guide is for Volibear, but I wrote 10,000 words not only about him and his matchups and how to play it, but also about jungling in general, all the philosophies you see on this channel put into a live companion coaching guide that will allow you simply to become a better jungler. It will take you from beginner to intermediate to advanced, and you can jump in whenever you like. There are over 80 games of learning, and once you've done that, I will simply keep being the voice in your head that helps you get through games. It also provides you a gank ability assessment at the beginning of games, how to set up your game plans, control objectives, and I will be giving away a few free codes for this guide in the comments. Make sure you tag it #VolibearSavant. And if you decide to go further, there is a 20% discount you can get with code Virkayu. Right, first up on the S tier page is Jarvan IV, and he has been here for a few patches, and when they initially buffed him, I said, you're gonna see him a lot at Worlds. You're gonna see him dominating solo queue. And right on time, he gets the World Championship skin. So, not only can you go tank, damage, bruiser, whatever the hell you want, although, you know, Goldrink is so broken, why wouldn't you? He's not only great for your red buff level 2 gank strategies, your buff grump gank strategies, your 5 camp strategies, basically whatever game plan you wish to execute in the early game to give yourself jungle success, Jarvan IV is available and ready to help. Not to mention you get absolutely free assists with your E-Flag attack speed buff, which allows you to take objectives and towers in a sublime level speedrun. And now you have the World Championship skin to do that and look fresh as well. He's the best overall jungle for 5v5, for Clash, for Flex, and for solo queue. But with all this talk of assassin junglers becoming the meta, Kha'Zix is basically saying, did you guys forget me? Did you forget that now we have buffed Ghostblade as well? Did you forget that I do everything they want to do better? And I think much of you did, because Kha'Zix is the assassin you want, and then Zed and Qiyana are the assassins at home. Zed can clear fast, farm fast, and he can do everything he wants to do from the mid lane, but he is still better in the mid lane. Qiyana had those changes, and I just did a video on the gameplay channel of her. And yes, she works well in high elo and in the right hands, but her win rate is still abysmal. It's not something that's really taking off just yet. Execution isn't really that great. But Kha'Zix has all these evolves, he has these variety of itemization choices. And if you are feeling particularly excitable, you can go Goldrinker and Ghostblade. Yes, there are some one-tricks in high elo doing that. I mean, you see two really strong items, you might as well combine them together. But as long as the meta exists in the way it does, as long as jungle exists in the way it does, and as long as Kha'Zix keeps his numbers, he will forever be the king of assassin junglers. And don't forget it. Next up, we have what was a deadly spearman, now's been nerfed a little bit. He's not quite the 2B pencil guy he used to be, but the spear has been blunted. Not so much for the mass population, definitely a little bit at high elo, but the pressure that Shin can still exert on the map is present, it hasn't gone away. You just have to understand a little bit that Jarvan does what you want to do a little bit better. But if you play in the same way that he was when he was Giga OP, you'll have no issue winning your games. Just understand that it's not going to be as easy as it used to be. AD nerfs tend to hit a little bit in that direction, but it still remains that the champion is strong. And Lee Sin is in very much a similar place. They nerfed his base AD, they nerfed his base damage, they nerfed cooldowns. And yet his win rate is still just sub 50%. Goldrink and Ice Spike Whip kind of make these champions a little bit stronger than they otherwise would be without the atomization option. However, as we all know, you can go things like Eclipse and face the same amount of success. You obviously just squishier, you don't have the same sustained damage and healing for long fights. But even though Lee Sin has been nerfed a lot in the last couple of months, he still remains one of the best junglers in the game. If you have hands, good mechanics, and a solid brain behind you, you can still take over games. You just have to make sure you're having that high pressure game style, looking for early dives, shielding the right people. Even down 1 to 2 levels, if things don't go well for you, you have the kit and the disengage to not only assassinate ADCs, but disengage any other fed members that might try and force fights when you don't exactly want them to. Fiddlesticks the Eternal, he is enjoying himself a wonderful season in the shadows, exactly where he likes to be. Not enough to be banned, not enough to be nerfed, win rate super good. AFK farm meta's gone, doesn't matter, you can still rinse clear faster than everyone, and because you throw that question mark in of do I start red, do I start blue, where am I sequencing, can you make things happen before my ultimate comes online? And ultimately, when your ultimate is online, please use it as soon as possible. I'm seeing Fiddlesticks in coaching and in VOD reviews hold it a little bit too long. Whether you are an enjoyer of Predator or Electrocute, Try and make sure you're using a hippity-hoppity over the wall into the bottom lane, into the mid lane, use the shadows and come forth, open up your spaghetti head and make sure you're snowballing nice and early. The pressure you apply to other junglers like a Lee Sin, like a Jarvan by playing like this will very easily force them into mistakes. The last thing you want though is to lose control over your camps. Make sure these ganks and these level 6 plays are predetermined. You have a solid game plan. Think a few steps ahead. I've just made videos on decisiveness, on patience, on having creative pathing. They don't sound like sexy topics, but honestly, these are the 3 things that differentiate your true high elo skilled junglers from the junglers who are basically lizards. And on that note, yes, he should be a little bit higher, but I'm putting him here as a bit of a reserve just to see how the meta develops. It's very easy to walk around predicting things. It's much more fun to observe them. But Talon jungle, yeah, it's something I'm going to consider unnatural. And in this case, the Jedi Order was correct because Riot have been playing with things that are not natural. And if you watch my most recent video, you would know what I'm talking about. It does help that many junglers that are training for Worlds, even Canyon, are picking him up. What's that? A 3-minute 10 full clear? Now you can E over every wall on the entire map to rotate to whatever situation needs it? Oh no, my bottom lane died. I guess I can just E over everything and use the Herald top lane, even though I really wasn't in position to do so. You can run Ignite, you don't need flash, your damage, your bleed damage, your slows. You have literally everything you need alongside a really fast clear to go full assassin, or to go Gore Drinker and still be an assassin. Stand aside Evelynn, stand aside other junglers. Talon is #1 for the smurfing jungler enthusiast. It is very easy to get 20 kills, 9 CS a minute, and high kill participation. How, you ask? Again, I just released a video on it and one on my gameplay channel. His mobility with his clear speed, with his raw damage and sustain with the itemization build means it is so difficult to deal with and handle this champion. You caught him out somewhere, he E's over the wall. Do you remember someone very similar? Ah yes, it was Udyr. Except instead of E-ing over the wall and running away, he just ran around it because he was so fast. You just dip his hand in the cookie jar, you catch him, he runs away. Nothing you can do. Couldn't kill him, and he outdamaged you, so yeah, keep an eye on his win rate. I think this is going to be something gaining a lot of popularity. In the meantime, Evelynn is enjoying being the assassin from the shadows. Nothing really changes in her reality, but she's kind of difficult to deal with when a jungler is very patient and understands, you know what, I'm gonna scale, I'm eventually gonna kill people, and if I don't need to farm and just cheese them, I can do that as well. Good win rate, good pick rate, still a strong LP machine. And do you remember in 11.17, they buffed Echo's damage to monsters, the bonus damage, 150 to 200%. Ever since then, his play rate has basically tripled in high elo alone. The win rate isn't doing exactly as well as it should. I'm sure most of you remember those times. It was 2019. He was dead and out of the jungle for a long time. They buffed him, pros picked him up and spammed him, took him to Worlds, lost every game and realized, wait, this is just better in solo queue. I don't think they learned from their history because I'm pretty sure it's doomed to repeat itself, but nonetheless, he is a strong performer in solo queue, and even though the win rate doesn't suggest it, a very good carry jungler for every single elo. And now we move on to the A tier page, and as a reminder, because this is only the best 16 junglers, it is most likely an S tier page and other tier lists, so do keep that in mind. But Graves is having a little bit of an attractive resurgence for the high elo and world's destined junglers. Why? Well, Graves is simply a map control savant, and basically with junglers taking a little bit more risk in terms of their ganking and their map rotations, Graves is enjoying snacking on their camps in the meantime. At the same time, he is one of the junglers along with Nidalee that just capitalizes so much on what I always call game flow. It's so easy to seamlessly move around the map and do whatever you need to do. Counter jungle, take the dragon, dive top lane, gang, counter gang. You have so much control at your disposal, and yes, his numbers are a little down, and yes, he struggles into certain matchups, but overall he has a really nice total package for junglers who understand the role and simply want to carry. Next up we have Nocturne. I don't really have much to say about him. He's just sitting under the radar, which is great for something that flies, obviously. And as long as your early game isn't something that's tragically disgusting, you should have no issue assassinating the ADC over and over again. The darkness that you bring forth with your curtain of distress should provide enough fecal matter in the pants of every squishy champion on the enemy team. And the nice thing is, because no one wards or pings where the ult is actually taking place, all 3 lanes will think it's them and back up, which means your laners can also get a little bit of free time if they're being harassed. Next up we have Rexa, and she continues to have a really good solid season, one of the few pure early game junglers that relies on Snowball that has maintained a very good win rate, and that's because she does so well into things like Lee Sin. And when you face mostly Lee Sin, which means a lot of your matchups will be Lee Sin, and you win that matchup, now your win rate looks good. She will struggle in lower elos and even platinum and gold when champions are kind of just waiting to scale, biding their time, farming it up, and you don't have the jungle knowledge to snowball the win conditions by 20 minutes. That is usually why we don't recommend it in a pure sense, but she has been doing very well across most elo ranges except for low elo, never play it. Next up we have the progenitor to the Shadow Assassin and Rust, and his name is Kayn. Win rate and play rate looking good. The only thing I will suggest to you, most of you, all of you, is please stop picking Shadow Assassin blindly with no considerations for the good Rast. I know I said this last video, but look, Jarvan, Kha'Zix, Lee Sin, Talon, Rek'Sai, a buffed Yuumi is floating around. We have Nami players that still enjoy it. Hey, Soraka was just buffed. That means when you combine Rast versus melee heavy comps, 3 to 4 at the very least, and you slap a Yuumi, a Lulu, a Soraka, you are just an unkillable demon. I understand the Blue Cane could go Gold Drinker, I've said this before, but please use your forms correctly for the greatest success. Also, Blue Cane has the Ghost Blade as well now, so that's something also good. Next, we have Nunu. In terms of the realm of tanks, Nunu is a tank, yes, but the AP ratio buff means that full AP Nunu, it's a strong thing actually, and I would recommend here, if you want to go a tank in solo queue, you're looking at Zac, you're looking at Nunu, you're looking at the Ramus, you're looking at a Mumu, except their win rates kind of dip as soon as you get into even remotely higher elo. But overall, those are your core choices. Just be aware that AP Nunu is kind of strong. Next, we have Taliyah. They did that mini rework for mid lane, and yes, it was primarily for mid lane, but it also really helped jungle, which means along with the changes she received this year and the AP itemization buffs we received a few months ago, her win rate, while hidden OP at the time, now is getting a bit more attention. People are saying, hold up, should we actually be playing this? And the answer is yes. Yes, you really should. Canyon's playing it again. A lot of other people are playing it again in the World's Prep. Hey, if they can buff Renekton in one more time and maybe the Pantheon, we can have point and click W combo stuns. Rest in peace, top laners who are gonna get dived level 3. Finally, we have the Karthus and the Kindred. Karthus is full clear in existence. It's very similar to Fiddlesticks, just a lot more high skill cap. Much better the higher up you go. The champion is always really strong. Remember, the bonus damage on your Q to isolated targets is huge, so when people don't group up to try and defend against you and they spread out, make sure you're focusing and hitting those skill shots. Make that minimap nice and big, click around, use F keys, keep track of when you need to use your ultimate, and as long as you're putting in the time to make sure your first clear is well practiced, rehearsed, and smooth. That's right, I want to see those sub 3 minute clears with a leash. That is how you play fast and furious with this champion and have free takeovers, because they just can't deal with you. They might be able to track you a little bit, but if you're so much faster than everyone expects to the point of like 20 seconds in certain elos, what are they gonna do about it? I've nothing really special to add to Kindred other than please understand early aggressive pathing. You are not a farmer, you're not a scaler. Try and snowball. Take control of the map, get your marks properly, don't waste any time. Everything needs to be really giga decisive, you cannot afford to waffle. And a small tip for most of you who I see playing Kindred, stop using your Q without considering what the enemy champion wants to do. Your Q is a dodge spell as well. You can hit and dodge at the same time, which means don't Q into things if they haven't used spells, and now you get trapped in CC and so on. Next up, a brief overview of the low elo page. No surprise, Master Yi sits at the top. Although Amumu's win rate is a little bit unnatural, I'm sure that will be nerfed specifically for low elo. I mean, in high elo, they kind of wanted him to be played a bit, and then he just became a support. J4, Nocturne, Trundle, Shaco, Echo, they rounded out. And finally, we have the Lilia. Very popular choice, but really was nerfed because of the pro play and high elo usage rate. But now with a small rework and shift giving her a bit of a heal, the forgiveness in the champion is really over the roof compared to what it used to be. So if you like to farm and scale, use some bowling balls down the middle of the lane, and have a game-changing ultimate much like a Nunu, except your full damage and carry, Lilia is seemingly performing very well. And finally, the high elo page. As always, you have to choose this by looking at the play rate, the pick rate, as well as the win rate. There is no question that Nidalee is the best performing jungler in the world for high elo. Jarvan and Lee Sin will always be there. Kha'Zix doing a great job. Talon is the one I'm sneaking in here over the Taliyah. Obviously, she's good as well. I think we will continue to see more traction, especially with Smurfs getting into the higher elo range with this champion. But please remember, there are so many viable champions in high elo, so many good performers. Don't forget your Kindreds, don't forget your Olafs, don't forget your Karthuses. Viego is still played a lot and can still do well. It's just not really forgiving. If you go too far, if you mess up, if you don't build right, you're just not going to have the same success as you used to. It's really not as forgiving. But these are some of the best performers currently and the most used, which is the most important thing. Also ban rate you have to figure in as well. And along with the other pages are your best junglers for patch 11.19 and hopefully for 11.20 with minimal changes. Enjoy the world's plans as we get into it. Thank you very much for watching. Please do like, share, and comment if you did enjoy. Consider subscribing for all the future content coming your way very soon. And as always, I will see you all in the next tutorial.